you're covered by this regulation or not are really well defined within the produce safety rule. So I'm going to lean kind of heavily on this particular regulation as I go through the talk today. So under the produce safety rule, they do define agricultural water as water that is intended to or likely to contact what they call covered produce. Basically, this is any kind of fruit or vegetable commodity or food contact surfaces. So any piece of equipment where that produce is going to contact, that's a food contact surface. So agricultural water is broadly defined as any water you're using that's going to contact the crop itself or any surface that that crop is going to subsequently contact. Within this particular regulation, it states that any agricultural water must be safe and of adequate sanitary quality for its intended use. And when we say sanitary quality here, we're talking about the microbial quality of that particular water. So that water needs to be free of any microbial pathogens that if we use that water that was contaminated with microbial pathogens to irrigate or wash produce, for example, and then we ingested that produce, they would cause disease in humans. And so under this regulation, there's this term called covered produce, as I already said, that's primarily fruits and vegetables. And there's a very small list of different commodities that are exempt from this rule, and FDA has this list published, and any other extension groups from across the country have this list widely available. So crops that would be considered not covered produce or exempt from these water quality standards would be things that are typically not consumed raw by people. And so these would be things that are either cooked in a consumer's home or go through some sort of post-harvest processing where there's going to be what we call a microbial kill step that would eliminate any of these potential microbial hazards on that produce prior to human consumption. But basically, most of our fruits and vegetables are going to be considered covered produce and be considered as a potential food safety risk under this produce safety rule. So under subpart E of the produce safety rule, this is the part of the rule that applies to agricultural water. FDA defines two different types of agricultural water, and I want to highlight those two here because I think they're really important concepts to kind of hit home with growers. So the first type of water they defined is production water. So this is water that's used during the actual growth of different commodities. So this is water that you would be using for irrigation or fertigation purposes, for example. There is also what's called post-harvest water. So this is water that you're using after you've harvested that crop. Could be used for washing, could be used for transporting or fluming that harvested product. It might also be used for diluting any cleaning and sanitizing agents that you're using in your post-harvest operation. So FDA makes the distinction between these two different types of water, and there are different microbial quality standards for each one of these two types of water as well. Right now, there is a proposed change to the produce safety rules, subpart E, that pertains to the requirements for production water. So the rule as it currently stands has defined microbial water quality standards for production water, and also a specified number of annual tests of that production water that a grower has to do to be in compliance with the rule. There was a lot of pushback around some of those very stringent parameters. There is now a published proposed rule that really puts the onus on the grower to do their own production water risk assessment and determine how they're going to manage risks associated